my friend. In this video, we're going to be making tech house synths and samples like HUGEL, and we're going to find out if we can do this in under 30 minutes using AI plugins and some sample reinforcement. So this here is a look at the Ableton project that we'll be working on, and if we solo out the melodic instruments, this is what we're going to be recreating in this video. So there's a couple of interesting techniques that we used here, and I'm excited to show you them because I think it's pretty unique using some of these AI elements. But this took about a little longer than I would have liked. All in all, this took about maybe 30 to 60 minutes recreating all this and getting all this done. And overall, if we listen to this entire track, you can see here that this is completely mixed, mastered, and arranged. So it's about a 5 minute and 30-second track, almost getting close to the 6 minute mark. And this entire thing, this recreation, all of this, took me about 7 days, 4 sessions, and about 3 or 4 hours, which is pretty fast. I'm pretty happy about that. And if finishing songs faster is something that you also need help with, I've made a free ultimate song finishing toolkit, and it includes the 5-step song finishing workbook. It's an ebook that I created. It goes over the 5 steps that I follow every time to finish music very fast. It also includes a collection of samples, presets, and Ableton racks that I use in every single one of my songs to get things done quickly. And there's also a third extra special gift that you'll have to see for yourself. So if you want to visit, you can get it all for free. You can visit the link in the description or on screen now to grab all that for free. And with that said, let's get back to the video. All right. So let's dive into creating all of the melodic elements for this track. Synth samples, the vocals that you're hearing right now as well. One of the things I want to mention here right off the bat is that we have this reference track right here, and it's Diplo and HUGEL song Stay High featuring Julia Church. So if I solo this and switch to ours, back and forth a few times, you can hear that they're quite similar. And so that was really one of the main first tricks that you're going to want to pay attention to. Having a reference track is incredibly helpful for helping to build out all of these elements. In particular, what we're going to be focusing on here is the melodic stuff. So I'm just going to close off the drums. We just have this kick drum, the bass, get rid of all these little effect sounds and stuff. And let's just focus on the melodic elements. So to show you this way that I think what the best way would be to just grab everything and let's introduce everything in one by one. And let's turn off these vocals as well. So let's start with the order in which I created all these synths. So let's add this first one. So it's that little stab there. Hear it right now. And in terms of the MIDI, it is, I believe it's just an E note. But what's more interesting about this is we can switch back to the sample reference. So you can hear it's kind of like a synth stab. And so the way that I got this was I have this separate little folder over here called Mellow AI. So let's just listen to this right now. And so what this is I took that reference track, Diplo and HUGEL's Stay High tune, and what I did was I dragged it into a AI software website called lalal.ai, and I use this to remove the drums so that all we're hearing is like the bass and the synth and all that kind of stuff. Then what I did was I went through this track and I picked out a bunch of the different sounds that I liked so that I could then replicate those sounds using AI. So let me show you what I mean by this. This is kind of interesting. So I'm going to solo out the stab. What we have is the stab that I liked. There is also the second stab. Very little, very subtle sound here. There's the vocal. And then bass, we'll skip that. I went over that in the bass video. Go here, little tom, and a little tom. And once I was able to cut them out like this, I was then able to, by pressing Command J, I was then able to extract this sound. And then I'll show you what I'll do here. So I'm going to press Command, Shift, and T to open up a MIDI track. And basically what I did was I'm using a tool called Synplant. And so I'll just drag this onto our new MIDI clip. And what we can do with this is if we open this up, we can go over to this little DNA looking thing or whatever this is. It's called Genopatch. We can actually drag that sound into Genopatch, and then we can play it. So that's the sound from the actual tune. And then if we press Evolve, it's going to use AI to listen to that song back and come up with different characteristics of that sound, and then use synthesis to recreate that sample, even though it's just an audio sample. So it's going through its process. It's doing its thing here. So if we listen to it back, this is the sounds. And then we can listen to the variations it made. So some of them are more on the nose than other ones, but it's really interesting that it can come up with something similar, get you in the ballpark, and then you can actually go over here and you can actually adjust all the synthesis if you'd like. But that was kind of the process of how I developed a bunch of these sounds. So separating everything using AI so that you have all the individual sounds by themselves so that you can cut up the parts that you want, and then you can drop them into something like Synplant to have a synthesized version of that sample. So let's go through this process now. So you can hear that what I created there, that stab, is different than what was in the reference. So it's cool because it can get you in a similar area, but it also gives you a unique sound too. But one thing that I would definitely recommend is something I've been doing as an experiment with these AI plugins is also using sample reinforcement. So right now we have this sample I'm playing. What I'm going to do is then add in this layer here. Then I'll listen to this together. So what I did was I found a similar sound after doing the AI song and dance, went into Splice, found a similar sound, dropped that in so it's playing around the same time, and now it's reinforcing the AI sound with a unique sample. In terms of the processing here, for the AI plugin, just removing a bunch of the lows, I set up an auto filter, basically brought down the frequency, and then added a bit of resonance, and I increased the envelope so that for each hit, it's going to pulse up to try to get that kind of wah sound. It didn't fully work, but it sounded good, so I kept it. A little bit of sidechain going on there, a bit of saturation to add some harmonics and fullness, and then width to push it to the left and right and make space in the middle. In terms of the stab, the sample that's reinforcing that AI note, just removing a bunch of the lows on that, some one knob sidechain, and that's pretty much it. Moving down, we're going to add in the next layer, which is another Synplant sound. And so what this is, we go back to the reference, it's the vocal. I'll wait for it to come in. Wait. That So that is the that I extracted using Lua, and then I just put that into Synplant, and that's the sound that came out. A little bit of processing going on here, removing some of the lows, one knob sidechain, a bit of saturation for fullness and harmonics, and then width pushing it to the left and right, making space in the middle, and a little bit of some kind of dub echo. And then what I use to reinforce that sound is this sound here, that little vocal hey. So those together, and I put it on so it was on the first and the third, as opposed to playing every time, just so it's a little bit more dynamic and changing. So that's how it sounds all together. Ready right now. And in terms of the processing on that vocal sample there, just again, found this in Splice. Found something that I liked. It sounded kind of similar. Removing a bunch of the lows, some side chain, a little bit of saturation, and I think I have the exact same echo on there as well. Moving along, I added in these little toms. Coming up. And for each of these, I believe they're just always playing an E in terms of the note. So once I throw it into Synplant, extract it using AI, using Lua, and then throwing it to Synplant to AI the sound, it's kind of mimicking whatever chord or whatever's happening. So I've been just experimenting with just playing that single note. And then in terms of reinforcing it, there's a couple things going on here. I added these kind of tom sounds. In terms of the processing on the AI toms, see what we're looking at here, just removing some of the lows and shelving out some of the highs, some one knob sidechain, some saturation, and some width. And I probably did that just about the same for the at their synth version. In terms of the samples that are backing it up, it's very similar as well. Just a little bit of one-up sidechain, sometimes saturation, sometimes width. And then I have a third sound here. This brass is what's coming right now. Really cool sound, and that's emphasizing the second tom sound, and I do it, it's just like in the middle of each of one of the phrases. Let's have a look through the rest of the tune, see what else we have. This additional stab sound, which is reinforcing the first tom. And let's keep looking. Now we're gonna be looking at some sounds. If we listen back to the reference, and this to ours, what I've also added is the pads. This is I don't know what the chord is. I'm not super into music theory or sound design. I'm into sampling and doing AI and weird things to create songs. So this is the MIDI if you want to figure that out. In terms of the processing, I'm using this UVI Workstation Noctua, some kind of preset here, breathing. Didn't do too much there, removing a bunch of the lows, some one-knob sidechain, the width pushing it to left and right a little bit, and I have this auto filter with an LFO mapped to the frequency, so it's slowly opening up the low pass filter there, adding in more highs. So basically kind of adding some motion and change. Then what I did is I grabbed that MIDI that I made from that pad there, dropped it into this additional synth track, added an arpeggiator to it so that those chords are now being arpeggiated. Synth, I can't remember exactly what's going on here. Some random sound that I've made. And then it's going into a portal preset. Show you what that looks like real quick. Just some random preset I found in there, nothing too crazy, just makes it sound a little interesting. Removing a bunch of the lows, some sidechain, some saturation, and some one knob there, one knob width. And I think one of the last things I want to show you is the vocal. And I guess let's get the drums back in for this. So for this, in the Stay High tune, it's like that cover of that, or remix of that Stay High song. I tried to do something different. I used the Supremes to Keep Me Hanging On. So you can hear it here. And then cut it up so it's kind of like it's an echo, but I just cut up the sample to sound like an echo. And then we'll listen to the tune, the vocal fully in. Sounds pretty cool, I would say. And just really quickly, the way that I did this was keep the music going. Actually, I kind of like this radio DJ style vibe. I grabbed the Supremes track and I dropped it into that Lala plugin as well to extract the vocals out, and then now I have the vocals, and that's how they're fairly clean. In terms of the processing, just moving some of the lows, shoving out a bit of the high. I used a little bit of compression to kind of tame the signal a little bit. It was getting a little wild. It's a pretty fast attack with a slow release ratio of 4, and going from about a decibel to 2, sometimes 3 decibels of gain reduction, a bit of sidechain, one knob saturation to add the fullness, and a little bit of width to pull it to the side. And then in terms of that kind of echo sound, what I have here is very similar processing, because I also have this auto filter where I have the frequency being slowly automated to sound like it's fading away. And that is a look at the synths and samples for this tune. Hello again, my friend. Hopefully you found that video useful. If you'd like to follow along yourself with the 5-step song finishing checklist, there will be a link in the description below where you can get access to that completely for free, and it's going to help you finish your songs a lot faster and better than ever before. If you found this video useful, like and subscribe and all that good stuff, but really the best thing I can do for you is hook you up with that free checklist, so make sure you check that one. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video, my friend. Have a good one.